time. Their job was to bring them back just a little bit so they could get a good night's sleep and a couple of good meals, and then send them right up forward. And, you know, I teach meditation now because when I was in that, I didn't realize I had PTSD. And so I don't want to talk too much about it, but this movie really, really touched home.
I just want to say to bring. I would love to bring all our special guests are here. Please, Matt, Amy, George, Mike, and our viewers. It started with a trust. You know, they trusted us, and we are honored that you trusted us, and we hope that we reflect who you are and the reality of who you are, and you were so incredibly generous with your life, with your emotion, and with the understanding that you were doing it for yourself, but also for hundreds of thousands of veterans and ordinary people who are suffering from PTSD. So we want to honor you tonight for this very good thing.
And for the viewers who gave their time and love and energy and heart Chris Young, Mark, and Gabby. So I'm sure there's some questions that we have from the audience. Yes, would you like to?
Yes, as a nurse, I'd like to know, and who has worked with veterans before, mostly in the hospice arena, but not. Have you gotten any word from the veterans associations that they may start using this, or may start being able to be open enough to use ayahuasca or MDMA for treating PTSD?
I myself, I've worked with a few veterans organizations, and the only plant medicine that they are willing to endorse, or even endorse research on right now, is cannabis. They're still far too afraid of any of the other Schedule I medicines, and there's no real public backing for it. So they're not going to do anything until it's politically safe for them.
How can we help?
Talk to them. Badger every veteran that you know that's in those organizations and tell them that cannabis is not the only thing that's out there. Cannabis is an important first step, and it's amazing medicine, as I said in the film, but it's not the only one out there, and these other Schedule I medicines can take you much further.
And by the way, MAPS, the beautiful organization, Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Science, is in some communication with the Veterans Administration. So there's openings. There's a lot of sprouts happening.
CIIS as well. California Institute for Integrative Studies is doing similar work.
Psilocybin. So this one directly for you. Psilocybin is being used in hospice settings in small groups, but it is showing promising hope. With psilocybin, you give that to your patients, their anxiety lessens, they relax, so they tend to be more open and not so closed off, which also helps their families.
Absolutely.
So, you know, you're facilitating not only your patient, but also their families as well, making them more comfortable and helping ease that process. So yeah, that's one that's being used also, but it's strictly limited, as far as I know, to cannabis and psilocybin, nothing beyond that, and it needs to go there.
We have a movie on that topic. Is Robert Barnhart here?
Where's the
He's their stand-up who made a movie called A New Understanding, which is about psilocybin being used with people facing the end of their life. Also, one of our associate producers, as well as Diane Stuppin, who would stand up. We want to thank her. Another financial. And our supreme financial backer, Kevin Krause.
that this movie was not financed with money. It was financed with love. And so many people are here that have shares in this movie because it was an Indiegogo campaign, and a lot of people give small amounts, big amounts, and there was with your help. And you guys, a lot of you are here today. We also want to honor you for your trust, for your generosity, and for your friendship and your love. Thank you so much.
So we have another question here.
I'm actually a member of something called the Native American Church. It's $200 for a lifetime. And although I've never actually used any sacred medicines myself, a good friend of mine regularly has San Pedro ceremonies as well as peyote. And the peyote carries the huicholes. We're in town for a movie actually, and actually gave him the peyote and blessed him with this. And he's helping people with other addictions also. It's legal. I've got a card saying I can carry this stuff, and it's not even part of my life. Yeah.
He's got a card.
Oh my God, yes.
So let me go ahead. I'll talk to this point. ONAC is Aqua Native American Church. Native American Church is NAC. They are only able to use peyote. They're not allowed to use anything else. The card says you can use anything. This is a lie. The government states you can only use one sacred sacrament per church. I know because before I was Soul Quest Ayahuasca Church of Mother Earth, I was Aqua Native American Church of Soul Quest. If I was caught, I would have went to prison. This little card that you paid $200 for, feel like you only paid $200 because I paid $10,000. My church was $10,000. That's what they wanted. They said, you pay us $10,000, we'll give you a church and you're protected. It's a complete scam. It's a complete lie. Okay, so anybody, please be careful. The ONAC, they're only out to get your money. They have nothing to do with making anything to help you or to protect you. Okay, remember, the only way to be able to use these medicines right now, protectively, is for religious use. But in that religious use setting, you can only use one sacrament that has an illegal, like Schedule I substance. Such we use ayahuasca at our church. We can't use San Pedro, we can't use psilocybin, we can't use marijuana, we can only use ayahuasca. And that's how it's done. And we're currently right now, one of the three churches that exist. One of them is Santo Daime, pretty sure a lot of you heard of it. And there's also the UDV. We're Soul Quest Ayahuasca Church of Mother Earth. And we've actually applied for the DEA exemption, and we're waiting to hear back from them. We're the first church to ever do that. And we're hoping to actually hear back from the government, but they're not saying anything. It's been about a year and a half, 2 years almost. They say you can't burden someone's religious belief. I think 2 years is burden someone's belief, yeah? There you go. But yes, please, understand that little card doesn't mean anything. Now, if it's a Native American card, you need to be Native American.
My friends do the ceremonies publicly.
You can do it publicly,
yeah,
but it's still not legal.
Okay.
So we have another question back here. I have a statement instead of a question. Last week, the Senate and the House passed a bill allowing for the use of MDMA and psilocybin for trial studies, which is super exciting. And it is on the desk of, it's on Trump's desk right now to be signed.
It's already.
It's
in phase 3 trials.
Right, and MAPS is in 2020, they're supposed to be starting the next phase of trials. Phase 3, right, which is super exciting. And right here in our backyard in Cornville, I'm working with one of the MAPS founders to set up one of the clinical trials for working with veterans. So it's on its way. It's super exciting.
Wow.
I just wanted to, you guys all look and feel amazing, and just really want to honor you and thank you for the work that you all did, and watching you transform on film is just unbelievable. And so, my heart was bursting open watching you. So thank you.
Amen.
I'm a veterinarian as opposed to a veteran. Interestingly enough, or sadly enough, the veterinary profession has the highest suicide rate, highest depression rate of any profession. So healing trauma at scale is something that I'm really interested in and focused on for the people that I work with every day, and so I'd love to connect with all of you and put our notes together and see how we can all work together to help everybody heal the civilians and the military veterans. So thank you again. It's just amazing what you guys did, and for sharing it all with us. Really appreciate it.
I got a question right here. How many men and women are you reaching?
Currently, right now at our church, we've had over 300 ceremonies within 3 years, with over 333 members that have come through our church, with over 3,000 people that have passed through in ceremony. We have 8,000 member database with 46,000 member following.
But not all veterans.
Not all veterans, just general veterans. I'd say a couple hundred.
I myself have helped a number of people through the process, maybe no more than 30 or 60. I know at least one other veteran in here who has helped many hundreds. So this is happening, whether it's legal or not. It's happening with multiple modalities. Veterans are the tip of the spear on this. We are pushing the envelope forward. So there's hope.
Yes, thank you very much, guys, for being so vulnerable and allow the cameras. Thank you so much. And if you don't mind me asking a personal question, what is your relationship with the medicine now? For you three, the ayahuasca, for you MDMA, I guess. Are you still doing it, or not, or often, or how do you feel about it?
Sorry.
Yeah, I actually just came back a few weeks ago from Soul Quest, and
Second time.
that was my third ceremony. Yeah, and it was absolutely transformational once again. It was much needed. I find that my anxiety, my traumas will start to resurface as I don't stay mindful of what I've learned. As time passes, as you know, life intercedes. Oh no, I have another phone bill, and the kids are screaming. Life gets, you know, and we slip away from remembering what the medicine has taught us. And so I went back just a couple weeks ago and was reminded, and I came home again. I was starting to have flashbacks. I was starting to have anger. I was starting to try to stuff it down, but I was able to use cannabis in the interim to help me to not explode, or to explode less often. And once again, it allowed me to soften. It allowed me to make through. But then that breakthrough of the ayahuasca, reminding me and bringing me back to source, was so necessary. And yeah, I was told quite a while back that the medicine has a reverse tolerance. As you use more and more of it, you need less and less of it, because the information becomes a part of you, and you don't forget it, and you just dwell in it, and you live in that.
No, everybody answered.
Yep. With the MDMA, I think for that, with me, I've only done it one time outside of the setting that I was spawned from, honestly. Like, it was like this little seed, and you just grow from that experience. And Mark and Gabby were amazing enough to let me have that experience. And so I've used it once since, but there are other things that we're finding that are opening up our minds, our hearts. And no matter what you do, no matter what that is, it still comes back to that feeling. Your heart opens and your mind opens. That's what you need. Yeah. You need to be reminded occasionally that, you know, your heart needs to be open, your mind needs to be open, and when it does, it's an incredible feeling. But when it starts to close off, you know, we're kind of the last ones to see that that's happening. And it takes people around us reminding us, you know, hey, you need to how you doing over there? So, yeah, if you need to call Chris, somebody call Chris. Dr. Cahill over here, you know, so, it's been a really amazing thing to experience, but yes, you have to come back to it, but it takes that reminder to say, hey, this is gonna help you.
Talk about
yours.
So I did wind up doing ayahuasca with Mark and Gabby, and definitely transformed my life. And it hasn't stopped. I've done it the one time, and there are other things that I have gone to as well along the way that have kind of continued to bring everything full circle. So, you know, he has allowed me the space to kind of take my time and do things on my terms. Thank you. Yeah, he had to learn that. Yeah, because that was pretty intense when he first got back, and I was just like, whoa. But yeah, you know, it's been, the past 2 years have been incredible, and the journey is just beautiful and continues every single day. And to bring this to everyone is an amazing blessing and a gift to be able to heal in front of everyone, and then hopefully bring that healing to you too. So very great.
You might talk about what today is.
Oh. So a major theme of my ayahuasca journey was my father died when I was 11, and the idea of losing love was something that's kind of followed me my entire life. And going through what I went through with him, you know, was very true and real that I could lose him. And when I was on ayahuasca, that came up for me, and I purged a sadness and a sorrow that I had never allowed myself to feel. That feeling of loss of love became so real for me, and then came full circle, and I realized that that's impossible. Love is impossible to lose. But very ironically and beautifully, today is the anniversary of my father's death, 31 years ago. So he's here with me. This is his ring. And so, yeah, it's been very powerful for me, and as I said, the journey continues every single day, and so my mind is blown.
First of all, I just want to say,
Okay, so my journey with the medicine actually continued for some time after the events of this movie. This occurred, I think, in April of 2016, the first ayahuasca journey, and not but a month after that, I traveled to Peru to do a 10-day dieta with Shipibo shamans, and a month after that, I traveled to Mexico to undertake Iboga and Sonoran Desert Toad. So that really just kind of started the entire snowball of the next 2 years, and I've been exploring natural medicines and Schedule 1 medicines that treat PTSD now for 2 years, at least. And I've come into a pretty intimate knowledge with a lot of them, and my relationship with the medicine now is, I mean, when you first actually begin your healing, it's just a, oh my God, thank you God, thank you universe, thank you everybody, thank you everything. And you have to ask, what do I have to do for this? There's got to be a trade-off. You know, you have to be asking something of me, and the only thing it said was change the world. It didn't say how, it just said change the world. And so now it's about bringing the knowledge. It's about bringing the knowledge now of these plant medicines to every single person who might have need of them. So.
Yeah.
So first I just want to say thank you for your beautiful, beautiful film, for bringing the light to this subject matter and to these beautiful souls who are so incredibly courageous to show their vulnerability and their wounds and to take us step by step through their healing. I'm in deep gratitude for that. I myself have experienced ayahuasca in a very safe container, let's say. It was a beautiful experience and it made a profound difference in my life. My question is, with ayahuasca becoming so, with people becoming aware of it as much as we're talking about it, how do we make sure that people are accessing it properly, that they are reaching the right people to get this plant medicine, this sacred gift? Because I feel like everywhere I turn, there's a shaman or a curandero, and that isn't the case. So how do we ensure that people are getting it the right way?
Maybe Mark can
answer that.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Good news and bad news, I guess. Yeah. Bad news first. You can't. The good news, there are a whole lot of people out there who mean well. They may not have sufficient experience, but this is part of the path. And one thing that we've seen happen over the years is that people do start listening to the medicine. The spirit of the medicine tells them, and they will feel it's not something that you do every day. It doesn't taste good to most people. It's nothing that you seek out. It doesn't give you any craving. Pretty much the opposite. So anybody who does this is going to go in there and say, either I'm going to have an intention and I want to listen to the plant spirit, or I'm just going to want to try this and then I'm going to run away, right? And so I think just as we are as humans, there's these pathways that go a straight arrow and there's these pathways that go crooked ways. And I think as a peoples, as inhabitants of this planet, it's our job to learn to trust the spirit of this medicine, to listen, to become servants. And these 4 people here are such an incredible inspiration for this process. Because a lot of people commit suicide, a lot of people suffer from PTSD. But going through something like this and seeing and experiencing things that no human being should ever see and experience, and to then come back and love and have a family, that is the biggest inspiration we can see. And so what I see is listening to these plant spirits does happen, healing does happen, and there's all this hope. And we just gotta figure that this is part of the path and talk to these people, because they're gonna come back out of these weird ceremonies and they're gonna want to talk about it. And so then it's on us.
One last question right here.
Hi, I just want to thank all of you guys immensely. You're amazing and your relationships are amazing and you guys captured it amazing. I feel like I went through some kind of transformation just watching it. But I used to work at a VA hospital and I work at another major hospital now, and one scene or one shot that particularly killed me was when you open the medicine cabinet and there are all those pharmaceuticals there.
That's
and it's really one
It
thing.
almost killed me too.
Yep.
Yeah. Jeez. It's one thing to be, getting the medicine to the patients, people that are being, I mean the plant medicine, but people that are being prescribed the pharmaceuticals. But it would be so nice if the people that are prescribing it could experience what you guys are experiencing and sort of see there's another way to help people and see there's another way around money and all of the stuff that fuels the whole pharmaceutical industry. So thank you for exposing this in some way.
The mental health professionals don't know what to do.
No, they don't.
And they are broken too.
Yeah.
They're human. We're all broken. And so, we are, in some way, on some level, we all are. And we all need to find that path to healing and joy in this life. and mental health workers definitely do. So giving them, educating them and doing these trials, and that's what it's going to take, and talking to legislators and telling your story and having these experiences. I mean, that's what it's going to take to change everything. Have to change it.
I've actually been very heartened by the responses I've gotten from, especially VA professionals. Everyone that I've told about this has been extremely open to it, and there are actually a number of veterans now working within the VA system who are experienced in these medicines, and they are trying to change the system from within right now.
So Matt, are you still running for office?
I knew this was gonna
I was considering running this year, believe it or not. But when the year began, it really seemed a bit too premature. And I think that I will postpone at least until 2020, but I am going to run.
All right. And thank you all. I mean, I know there's so many people wanted this mic when I was walking around with it, but you know, I'm sure you're going to be available for questions. There is another program here afterwards. We just have to go outside. So thank you again for making this beautiful movie and supporting everyone in this journey to healing. Thank you.